Hi, and welcome to my garage. Picked up this, I call her Lucy. We all have to name things, right? This is a Bandshell, the original Bandshell, 1970 or 71, depending on when it was built. USC1. So I got this Bandshell. It wasn't working, obviously. That's why we'll sell them, is because they have them for so long. This one I picked up, so I was trying to get it working. So of course I look it over and try and figure out what's wrong, and I don't know if you can see, but this is the motor coupling right here, and see that it's basically broken in half. It's severed in the middle, so I need to replace that. So that's what I'm gonna do. First thing I did though is that I've been cleaning as I go on this thing. This was somewhat filthy, and you can kind of see it looks pretty clean right now for the most part. That's because I just used a lot of dollar store cotton swabs and some degreaser and a little elbow grease, and just meticulously have been trying to clean this without dumping a whole bunch of chemicals on it. But anyway, yeah, it is. Actually, it used to be about as dirty as this one here. I don't know if you can see all the goo and the gunk all over this one, and how dirty the carriage is on it. But anyway, they will work when they're dirty. They just don't like it very much. So I'm going to replace the motor coupling on this one, and I thought I would just kind of video it as I go a little bit here. So first, of course, I read about it, and just a word of warning here, I ordered the CD off of eBay for the service manual. It ended up coming from Canada, I guess, so that's how I get around the copyright thing. Anyway, it came, but it came 28 days later, so if you're in any kind of a hurry, don't order that one. So I got this one because that one just wasn't coming in the mail. And I like this better because, you know, you can flip from one page to the next. So let's say I'm in here and I'm in the mechanism section. I'm looking at things on here, but I want to know how it works rather than trying to scroll through a computer somewhere. I can just quickly flip and look at, this is the next section of the book, which is the parts catalog, which you wouldn't really think about as being interesting to you, but it gives all the parts and it shows how they fit. So here, right here, is your motor coupling. So I can look in here real quick and I can see just basically how it works, how it's held in, what's around it. To me, that was helpful, but nowhere in this manual did it tell me how to replace it. Hence, I needed to go to the expert. Oh, there it is. There's my Ron Rich's Seeburg mechanism guide, and I found it helpful to highlight things that are important to me. And I've got this little note that says motor coupling, and here it says the correct installation of the motor mech coupling is covered in the lubrication of the mech section of the book, which I also found was on page 30. So I went back to page 30 and I read that section and figured, oh, by the way, a little sidebar here, when he talks about SPS and FC and STD series model mechs, I don't know what those are, so I went ahead on the side and wrote down what years they were, so I can kind of get an idea as he's talking in his book what years he's talking about. But anyway, so I went in here and looked and I found this the trick, the secrets to doing it. And of course I needed a new mech, so if you can see from here, this is Mr. Rich has mailed me one, and it came in the mail yesterday. So I was kind of excited about that. And of course, since he's got a book, he doesn't provide any instructions in there. What you get is a new motor coupling. If I can do this one-handed. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the motor coupling has these set screws, Allen wrench type, 4 of them, 2 on each side. And so when your wife asks you why you have all these little tools that you don't need, it's because in times like this, you will actually need this 1 1/16 size Allen wrench. But I also found that it's a lot easier for me if I put it on these little heads, and so I found that this size head, which they call an H2, is also it. So I'm going to use those. And of course the other thing you need is a 1/4 inch nut driver. That's probably the most handy thing you can ever have on a Seeburg. Alright, so that's what I've got. And what I'm going to do with these little things, since you're asking, is I'm going to replace that piece. Wow, and this one is nice and honestly, but that's flexible. Obviously get old and nasty and broken, and so that takes up, I'm guessing, the torque, a little bit of torque when it first starts up. So there's 2 screws holding this piece in right here. This is the top one there, and then the bottom one here has a screw on this side and a screw on that side, which again, I never use the screwdriver. I always use the 1/4 nut driver for that. And I also am going to need to take off this piece right here, this bracket here, which is held on with one there, and this one is right here. So I'll take this off first, and then taking those 4 off should basically free up the motor from its mount. The motor has these 4 wires, a green, a blue, a yellow, and a red, and someone has very nicely tied them off here. So I'm going to unbend that, and so it'll free this up a bit. The green wire, as I wiggle it over here, I find that it's this green wire here that runs up to this contact here. So I've got a little bit of slack in that one. And then the other 3 wires, the red, yellow, blue, they are right here, and they're tied here, and they go down to this set of contacts down here. So I have enough play, I think, that if and when I take this loose, if I set it like on some jam some paper towels underneath, that I should be able just to take it down loose and just let it sit there, and that'll give me enough room to be able to put the new motor coupling on without having to do a lot of extra work, because I really don't want to do anything I don't have to do with this right now. I just want to see if that problem can be easily fixed. But while I am in there, just as a sidebar, it'll be a lot easier for me to go in and clean these contacts right here for this switch, and that's off the bottom of your clutch, and that switch does need to be kept clean, and what a good time to clean. So while I'm there, I'm going to go ahead, and I'm in here. I've got my Puretonics Extra Strength Contact Cleaner, which is restores electrical continuity, removes oil, grease, grime, evaporates quickly, no residue, safe on metal and plastic, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to use that, and I've learned that one of the easiest things to do is just to spray it on a title strip, and then just gently rub the title strips in there, and that will actually clean it quite well. Since these are, I don't really care for these artists that came in one of the jukeboxes. Wham Bam Shang-a-Lang. No, I don't think that's my music. Anyway, I'm going to do that, and the other thing while I'm here is I'm going to do some little extra lubricating. Back up in here, there is a gear that goes into the clutch. That's a shaft for the clutch. So while I'm here and I'm going to have the motor out, it'll be a lot easier for me to get in there with a toothbrush and some oil. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil, because I really don't want to do a lot of degreasing at this point. I just want to keep it lubricated, because when I do my whole met cleaning, I'll do the degreasing. So I'm just going to take some oil, put it on a toothbrush or on a cotton swab, and really just try and get it up into all those little spots and try and get any kind of goo that's off of it. So that's what I am going to do. I hope you found this helpful to you. And oh, by the way, the reason why this is sitting here, normally you would have it go all the way down to the end and have it stop so that you've got a lot easier place to play. Simply because that's where it was playing a record when that motor coupling broke. Alright, so there you have it, and I hope this is okay. I'm removing the motor coupler since this one is broken. Put a new one on. I just wanted to give myself a helpful hint. The first thing that I do, I've decided that's the right thing to do, is to loosen these set screws, because they are really in here. There was gunk inside, so you couldn't get the Allen wrench in. Took forever to clean it out just so I could get the Allen wrench in. because if I actually had the motor loose and sitting down out of the way, it would be a real bear to try and get these set screws and get the torque on them that I need to have in order to push up against it to get them loose. So that's my, because look, even right now I got it on there and I got it loose, but I can't even get this sucker out of there. It's that stuck in there because all the varnish and crud of all the dried on oil that's been there forever. So anyway, time to get out the pliers to see if I can get that out of there. Anyway, just thought I'd give you that. I'm still removing this motor. I'm almost there, but I thought I would stop for one last little tip on the removal process. I decided I'm going to be using a 1/4-inch ratcheting nut driver, which it also can turn side at an angle in case you need to get in and get some torque. But decided I would do this bottom one first. And so I set that one. I was going to just stick them all in a cup, but instead I went ahead. So I put that one over there in corresponding spot, and then I took out the other one down here. I don't know if you can see this or not, but that is actually broken and sheared. And this screw is longer than the one on this side, so I wanted to make sure I didn't just throw them in a cup and forget which is which. But if you look at this, I don't know if you can see that little extra piece falling off there on my finger. But that is actually, you see how this one has got an edge on it? That one, someone torqued this baby down so tight that it actually tore part of the head off of the nut. So now I'm on the top side. I move these wires to give myself enough slack so when the motor does come down it's not going to hurt anything. And so I've cracked the top two free. And I'm going to take those off, and before that I went ahead and loosened it was very important to loosen these little Allen screws here, because once you get this down you're not going to be able to get to those and hold it as easily. So almost ready to drop the motor and replace this. Okay, well, I removed the top bracket from the motor, and I keep the screws in it so I know which one is which, because this screw is shorter than that screw. And so I want to make sure it goes back in the correct way, reverse order. And so the motor just kind of fell back a bit here, and as you can see, that's the severed one, and I'm just going to put this new one on now. And all that means I've already loosened the set screws, so let's see if this will just slide off. By golly, it did. Alright, let's see if this will come off. Nope, that one's not doing it. Let's see. I've loosened the screws on it, so maybe it just needs, it's probably stuck on with the years of gunk. Well, that screw is certainly out far enough. Let's see about that one. One thing I have learned is you never put too much pressure on anything, because it's old. Oh, there we go. Just a nice, I'm just putting the screwdriver in here and just twisting sideways just to kind of give it a little bit downward pressure without really doing much. Here we go. Here we go. Come on, you. And all the way, it's going to just fall off. Here we go. I just don't want it falling down behind. There we are. Okay. Deal. Okay. So, there's the old one, and you can see on the shaft that there's an indent right there. And then on this one, there's a flat spot. So this one is all the way around, it's got an indent on the shaft. And this shaft, it's got two flat sides. But, you would think this motor should spin freely, and it's not. So I got a feeling that the motor on this, although I really just wanted to come in here and put a new coupling on it, I think I'm going to have to go in further with this. See if I can free that motor up, because it seems like it's binding for some reason. Probably from years of not being oiled. Okay, I'm here replacing my motor coupling, which should have been a simple job, of course. Isn't as simple as it should be. kind of like when you take your car in to get the oil changed, and the mechanic comes out and asks you to talk to him for a minute and explains all the things that they found that need to be taken care of, and they can take care of them now. Well, that's sort of like that here. I took off the old motor coupling and I got the new one, and where there's little set screws in there where they drilled them, there was pieces of metal sticking in there, so this would not slide on there to save the world. So I had to go in and actually file those down, little pieces that are sticking out in there, so that it would actually fit on. Now this one, this side, just to let you know, has got two flat sides to it, so these are going to fit on like that. So I want to tighten these down a bit onto that, so that I make sure I have my orientation correct on that motor, but not too tight. But on the top side, it's indented the whole way around, so it doesn't really matter. So I figure I'll put it on the bottom first, and then put the motor in place with these, and then tighten the top ones into the correct place. So what I was going to mention before about the mechanic thing, number one is when I got it out, I went to turn this, and this would not turn. The motor was pretty much seized up. So what I've done was I've continuously filled these two oil reservoirs, which basically drip oil into the bearings there, and I've moved it to the point where now it's moving pretty free. It's still a little gummed up, but boy, it's so much better than it was. Second thing though that's really irritating, and I use that word politely, it's not really the word that came out the first time, was when I took the motor off, I looked down and I noticed there's a big hole here. What's supposed to be there is a rubber washer type thing that fits down in there, and basically it sits on the bottom of the motor. So the motor is supposed to be seated on a rubber washer that the last person that took this out apparently decided not to bother to put back in. So kind of some different choice words come to mind, but so now I'm going to order one of those. And just to show you what that is, if you go down, you can see down underneath there, but there's a little black thing down there, and that's what it sits on. So gotta go find one of those. I always wonder, what are we gonna do when all the spare parts that were made for these run out? Does somebody have a dealer that makes more of these little guys? Anyway, I guess we'll cross that road when we come to it. Alright, so I wanted to pass on that. So I'm gonna get a new piece and then put it in there, and then I will install the motor back up, and we'll see how it works. Well, I have now installed the new motor coupling, and see, it turns and it's not broken in half. It's a good thing. I've now made the bearings inside of the motor have oil, so the motor now turns. I've literally oiled every single thing I could possibly think of, using copious amounts. And by the way, you can get this for like $3-4 bucks. So I suggest you have plenty. It's available at Lowe's and Home Depot. You can never have enough of that. So I oiled everything I possibly can. I've gone in, I've done a whole lot of degreasing and desludging. This thing was just really bad. Again, these people had owned it for, gosh, over 10 years, and had never, I believe, ever lubricated it or cleaned anything. I put the bottom bushing on that was missing. I put the new one on there. I've gone into every contact, all the contacts, and I've used contact cleaner and a old title strips, and I've cleaned out every single one of those. Now it's time to go ahead, and I'm going to put the stylus cartridge back on, put this back in the unit, and for the very first time, and I've checked all the fuses too, so this will be the very first time I'll ever turn this thing on. So hopefully now it will work. Who knows? I'll let you know.